I am here because of my illness. I have tried herbal remedies that didn't work. That's why I'm here. I was forcefully married. I told my parents that I do not like the man, but they insisted that I must marry him against my will. Then I told myself that my parents must have hated me to give me out that way. Now see what has happened to me. He has driven me out of the house. If I can get healed, I will not go back to him. I want him to divorce me. I don't want to go back to him. When I went to my father with my grandpa, he told me I'm no longer his problem, that his worries now are how to take care of my siblings. I just want to get well and be normal again. That's all I want.
The battle to eradicate the practice of child marriage is being fought on a daily basis across West Africa and the world. Local and international agencies, religious bodies, civil societies and governments have embarked on various campaigns to enlighten and educate on the ills of this practice. Still, child marriage remains. And every day, girls are forced to end their childhood abruptly and made brides overnight.
Mariam, come here, come here. I say come here.
Is the act of sending a young girl into a mission that she is not prepared for, into a mission that she does not know about. Getting a young girl to live for the rest of her life, a life that she is not prepared for.
We are talking of somebody in primary school who has not even gotten the basic education that is required for survival. Now you already send that one out into marriage. So it disrupts the career progress of that child.
According to the Quran said, do not give a child marriage until the child is matured enough.
This is really a serious problem, that is contributing to the poverty level in many parts of West Africa.
Early marriage is giving the child in marriage before the age of majority and then without their consent. Giving the child without their consent when they have not reached the legal age. For me, girls who are victims of violence are the girls who psychologically are labelled by society and psychologically will no longer like marriage. My name is Dado Camara. I'm 16. I like to have fun. I like going out with my friends, partying. I like school too. I do not like being bored alone, staying alone at home. I came here in May 2013 with my 2 older brothers. We came here on holiday. At first, my father did not talk about forced marriage to me. He said nothing. He came on the 26th of November 2014. When he arrived, he said we were going to the village together because all the family were there. So I went to the village with my father. There, he began to talk to me about marriage. Many people had asked to marry me, and I did not accept. He offered to marry me to my cousin. I did not accept, and there he said that then it will be by force. Yes, I felt a little sad. I didn't want it. I didn't know what to do at first. I didn't know how I would get out, but as soon as I called my sister, everything was sorted out. We have to stop this. It is not right. The world has changed. These are the sort of things that happened before, but now there is no more forced marriage. The husband's situation, the rate of early marriage is high in some localities. It is not in all localities. For example, in the Kai region, with the Sonin case, there are many early marriages. So it depends on the region. And today, we know that with the rise of fundamentalism, girls are married early. As the doctor said, in general, it is so that the girl hasn't had sex or teenage pregnancy. Then, it is also out of respect for religion.
First reason, customs and traditions. Second, the importance of religion. And thirdly, it is a pleasure. It is an honor for a family to give his daughter in marriage before she has had sexual intercourse for the first time. When it is discovered after the wedding night, that the girl never had sex, she is still a virgin, the whole family is happy. The whole family is honored. They even give gifts to the girl. The husband is obliged to give gifts to the girl as a reward. And parents are very happy. They are very happy, and mothers, aunts come celebrate it.
We are in the process of educating parents about the consequences of early marriage. We work with doctors. You have just met our doctor. We work with doctors who raise awareness of childbirth with parents of children who have married early.
The worst case is this woman. This young girl who was married at 15 to her father's friend. Her first pregnancy was not followed or declared. She gave birth in a hamlet in the bush. She suffered a vesicovaginal and rectovaginal fistula. She had a tear between the vagina and bladder and the rectum and the vagina. So she had urinary and fecal losses. And although the child was big, he did not survive. Not only did she lose her child, but she had a double obstetric fistula. We hospitalized her, she was given medication, antibiotics, but unfortunately we lost her. This is the worst case that I can remember.
I say that to stop early marriage in Mali, we need a law. Because with our code of persons and the family, the child must be married at 16. Although the age of majority, it's 18 years. So I think we need a law to end early marriage.
Niger has the highest rates of child marriage in West Africa. 75% of girls in Niger are married before the age 18.
When these offences are committed, there must be prosecutions and consequently sanctions against the perpetrators of these infractions. I am an example. I still remember when I was in primary school. One day, my family introduced me to a girl about 8 years old, and I was made to understand that she would be my wife. Me? I was surprised. I said, "But why?" They said, "It is out of respect for our traditions." I said, "But tradition must change, and it has to be a good thing. So if you give a girl of 8 to be married, you prevent her from going to school, which means you are holding back her spiritual, moral, and physical development."
In Nigeria, Northern Nigeria has one of the highest rates of child marriage.
Early marriage, in Nigeria and in many parts of West Africa is one of the most serious issues that is undermining the growth and the development of young, girls. In the sense that, in many places in Nigeria and in West Africa, young girls are taken out, from school for marriage when they are not actually even matured, enough to be given out for marriage.
You find out with statistics that 1 in 3 girls below the age of 18 are actually given out in forced early child marriage, and 1 in 9 are given out in marriage before they actually became 15 years of age. So the situation is quite alarming in the country.
The Child Rights Act, passed in 2003, set the minimum age of marriage for girls in Nigeria at 18. But the provision to execute this law remains undeveloped in many parts of the country.
The issues about early marriages in Nigeria has to do with issues of religion, it has to do with issues of tradition, it has to do with issues of poverty. It has to do with issues of illiteracy, so you can expand it as far as it goes.
Most parents believe that by giving out their girl child early for marriage, it's also a way of securing their virginity and the family honor.
There is such a divide in the country. Poorer people seem to be a lot. So when there is a situation like that, there is shortage of resources for family. So they are only left to the option. It's more like the child is the only valuable thing to be traded. So they end up trading the girl child. And we live in a patriarchal society. Poverty goes hand in hand with gender inequality that we have in Nigeria. The girl child is viewed as not so valuable. So they tend to say, "Oh, I can invest in a boy because he's bringing back to me. But when I invest in a woman, she's taking it to her husband's house and it's not going to pay me."
I poisoned his food so he can eat and die. I did it because he forcefully married me. I want him to divorce me, but he said no. He stopped my education, and I want to continue my education and be a medical doctor. My parents told me to be patient, that I would learn to love him with time. But all I want is to finish my education and be a doctor. Parents should stop marrying out their children forcefully, because they don't know what they would face in the marriage.
The 1948 Universal Declaration of Human Rights states that marriage should be entered only with the free and full consent of the intending spouses.
Whichever way you look at it, either from the cultural aspect of it from the religious aspect of faith, and from the economic aspect of faith, I think parents have great responsibility to play in taking care of their children and not just pushing them out to go and get married at an early age.
We need to promote gender equality, because we discover this thing is mostly with the girls, giving out the girls out for marriage to make a living. So gender equality should be promoted or be encouraged. Corruption must be addressed. Poverty must be addressed.
When people are educated to know the ills of child marriage, they are better informed and able to take decisions that this is unhealthy for my child. And also, when you look at the psychological effect, a child giving birth to a child, she's not prepared for it. She's not prepared for motherhood because she's a child. She's not emotionally and physically prepared for it. But when you actually go about educating people and creating awareness, they are better informed to make appropriate decisions to actually protect their children.
In Burkina Faso, the legal age of marriage is 17.
The reasons that make it difficult to eradicate child marriage in Burkina Faso, as everywhere else, are primarily related to our culture, because the mindset runs deep. Issues of culture, of tradition run deep into the roots of our societies, our villages.
And with that, as I said, different information on human rights, the phenomenon diminishes more and more.
The girls are unable to complete their education or go to school at all. Most of these girls who marry young are often the second or third wives of a partner who is substantially older.
The young girl who is given in marriage very early risks her life, simply because she may die because of this early marriage, because her body is not yet ready to receive a man, much less a child.
Newly married girls are expected to begin childbearing immediately and then tend to give birth within the first 20 months of marriage. Sad as this is, they become part of a revolving circle that keeps them forever in poverty.
There is a legal age for marriage between man and woman, but this is already prescribed in the family code. There is a law, but some do not obey the law or are ignorant. I say that the law is made to be respected. If there are people who will not respect the law, the government needs to enforce it and impose sanctions.
We need the government to pass a law, just as it did for excision. We need the government to support the fight against violence by adopting legislation, punishing infractions through imprisonment or fines, so that people understand.
In Sierra Leone, child marriage is also very common. In the rural areas, 61% of girls are affected by child and forced marriage. 2 out of 4 girls are married before the age of 18.
I live with my parents. I go to school in the morning and in the evening sell for my mum. I'm in a relationship and got pregnant. My mum threw me out of the house and my partner abandoned me, leaving me with the child.
Although there is a law that prohibits child marriage in the country, however, with parental consent, it is permitted.
The typical Sierra Leonean or African man believes that women are meant for the kitchen, they are meant to be raising children, and so they don't believe women, so they believe women should marry at an early age and start doing those stuff.
Many girls have no choice but to marry young in order to help their families financially. It is customary in Sierra Leone for a girl to be married at a tender age of 9 years old.
In Sierra Leone, the age of puberty is determined according to the physical output of the girl, say the breasts, the body, the features, you know. So when this girl has attained such puberty period, the parents could be tempted to give her to the man for marriage. Then under the religious factor, we have, for example, the Islamic religion, and the doctrine of Islam says the girl is matured when she starts seeing her menstrual period, you know. So they are tempted to give such children to marriage. It's also affecting the practice.
A lot of culture and communities, people have accepted it. People have accepted it. There is this poverty. Poverty is one kind of thing that is associated with early marriage.
From the time of the first pregnancy, there is suffering that she will endure for the rest of her life, no pleasure, rejected socially because she is disabled for life.
For the national community, on the fundamental rights granted to girls. During these occasions, we expose these rights, especially regarding marriage. We recall that in our country, there is a legal and legislative framework, the Civil Code, which protects the girl against early marriage.
What we do, what we are actually involved in, is in fighting to raise awareness on the ground in communities. That's what our organization does. We train paralegals to go and raise awareness about the rights of women, the rights of children, to promote the education of girls and to keep them in school.
Today, we are in a harmonization phase of the legal texts with our international commitments. We have almost completed revising our civil codes that harmonize the age of marriage. The proposals we have made in our civil code, revised in partnership with the Department of Justice, is that the minimum age of marriage for women is 18 years.
The general consensus is that to curb child marriage, there must be continuous effort to empower the girl child.
We in workshop, we have been advocating that there should be at least, a minimum age limit, in which, young girls should be given to marriage. Workshop has been, engaging, different stakeholders, with view to curb and minimize this practice, in Nigeria and in many West African countries, through, policy dialogue, because we believe that this has to, be done in order to minimize the consequences of the early marriage, So we engage on, policy dialogue to look at, what our policymakers, what our legislators, what other, stakeholders, even the parents, and, even some, in most cases, some of the men, we do, meet with them to discuss, to see the best way.
There must be a commitment to changing social and cultural norms that are detrimental to the rights of children, especially the girl child. And also, adoption of legal reforms and policy actions that protect the girl child. With the activities of various local and international organizations, the campaign has brought some improvement, but the journey is still far from over. Until every girl child is completely free from the pressure and danger of being forced into child marriage, the campaign must not die.